Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I've been watching YouTube cooking videos for years, and I finally decided I think I can do that and make some content of my own. And the number one reason why is to answer the question that's most common in my household: Dad, what's for dinner? Okay, so tonight we're gonna have a fairly simple dinner. We're gonna do a homemade KFC Famous Bowl, so basically mashed potatoes, gravy, corn, and popcorn chicken. I think the big difference here is because there are so few items, there are a couple places where we can have a big impact and make it delicious. The first one is we're gonna make homemade mashed potatoes, so we'll get those going. We're also going to make a homemade gravy, and then I'm going to turn to just store-bought popcorn chicken, warm that up, put it all together, and we'll get it served. So stay tuned and we'll start cooking. Okay, so to start with here, the first thing we're going to do is just get our potatoes going. Um, right here, I've got two large russet potatoes. I've just had them peeled and then just soaking in some water for a little bit. I'm going to start off by getting these out and kind of cutting them down into smaller pieces, roughly the same size. Things that are the same size will cook at the same time. So that's what we're going to do here. So just real quick, I'll probably cut each one in half and then probably cut each of these halves in half as well. And then from there, it's just going to be to get them on the stove, bring the water to a boil, probably about 15 minutes until they're fork tender. And then we'll move on to actually making our mashed potatoes. All right, so just got done with our potatoes. They just got done boiling. They're nice and soft. So now I'll move into making the mashed potatoes. I like to use a ricer when I make mashed potatoes. Helps break this down really well and not put it through a lot of overworking that can lead to gummy and sticky mashed potatoes. So pretty easy. You just come in here, load this hopper up. And this is only two big russet potatoes, just because there's only going to be two of us eating dinner tonight. So we'll get through them pretty quick. Load it up. Just press it down. And boom, there you go. Okay, now that we have our potatoes all gone through the ricer, the other thing that we have to do is just add some milk and butter to them. I just put half a stick of butter and a cup and a half or so of heavy cream, or I'm sorry, half and half on the stove, let it all melt down. I'm going to pour about half of that into my potatoes and then just start mixing it around, get it incorporated until you get to the consistency that you want. And I like to add a little bit at a time, right? You can always add more. It's awfully hard to take it out once it's in there. So, and again, just kind of fold. You don't want to work the potatoes too hard, or you'll just end up with a gummy mess. And I think just a touch more should be good. All right. And always, just because you're dealing with potatoes, um, you know, taste along the way. Adjust your seasonings if you need to. These need a little more salt. So again, just fold. Perfect. Potatoes are done, ready to go. It's going to be a little while before we eat, so I'm going to save this cream and butter on the stove, and we'll get this in a container to rest for a while. When we get ready for dinner and we heat this back up, if they're a little dried out, I've got this ready to go and I can add more. Let me get this put away for right now, and then we'll get on to the next thing we'll make, and that's going to be the chicken gravy. Okay, all right, time to move on to the next piece. That's going to be our chicken gravy. Making gravy is one of the easiest things to do. And when you're doing a quick meal like this, I think making your own gravy, um, beats just getting something from the store off the shelf. Um, and it's almost no effort. So in this saucepan here, I've got 3 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna let that melt, and we're gonna begin by making a roux, which is just melted butter, and in this case, 5 tablespoons of flour. So we'll get this butter melted. We'll add the flour. All right, butter's melted. Now I'm just going to add this 5 tablespoons of flour. And we're just going to mix this together. It's going to form kind of like a paste. And this is our roux. Use this as a base for a lot of different sauces. But one thing to remember is when you make this roux, um, once it kind of gets incorporated, it makes this paste here. Give it about, a minute, minute and a half just to cook. It gets the like raw flour taste out of it. So we'll give this just a minute. While it's going, I'm going to grab one other thing here. Yeah, it's smelling right now. Okay. Then the only other thing here that I'm going to add is just 2 cups of chicken broth. And I like to just add a little bit, kind of break this paste up. You'll see it release, and then it's going to firm back up. And then just add more. Cut the heat back a little bit. Okay, now you see it's really loosened up here, but as it sits and heats through a little more, it'll begin to thicken, get to the consistency that we want. I'll add the rest of that broth now. Okay, turn my heat back up a little bit. We'll let this go. The other thing that I like to add, when I'm making gravies, is just a little soy sauce. Helps a little bit with color. It adds a little pop of flavor. And I add it before I add any other salt or seasonings, just to make sure that I don't end up kind of over salting the gravy. Just a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And that's it for the gravy. Now it'll thicken up a little bit. And again, like I said, we're going to have dinner a little later. So this is made, ready to go. I'm going to put it back on the stove with the mashed potatoes. And then when it's time to actually make the chicken and the corn and put everything together, we'll heat it back up. And we'll be ready to answer that question. Dad, what's for dinner? Okay, we've just got our gravy and our potatoes reheated. Got some corn made up here and our popcorn chicken. And now we'll go ahead and assemble our make at home KFC bowls. Oh, and I got one other thing to grab. I also shredded up some cheese to go on them. All right, let's go ahead and get these assembled. We'll start out with a good dose of our mashed potatoes. We'll put a little bit of our gravy on that to start out with. A little bit of cheese. Our popcorn chicken. Our corn. More gravy. And a little more cheese. And there you go. That's my answer to, Dad, what's for dinner? See you next time.